Yes, thank you all. I'm very excited to be here, and we'll just dive right in. Today I'll talk to you about climbing the product management career ladder. And first of all, I really think that product management is the best place to work in any company. Why I think this? You're in the center of the business. You're talking with so many different people, working with so many different departments, and that just makes it very fun, but also very interesting and sometimes even challenging. So that's what I will share with you today. Sometimes very personal stories, but trying to give you a lot of advice, and hopefully you'll all walk away with some tips and tricks that help you build your own or climb your own career ladder in product. But first of all, who am I? So on the, on the right hand. So, I don't know, OK, I'll just continue. I started working at a reception desk. I have a picture, but we'll see that later. I joined, I studied hotel and event management. So no technical background. I had no clue what product management was, didn't know anything about it, didn't even know that it existed. So you could honestly say that I fell into product management by accident. How did I end up working in behind the reception desk from being that girl to becoming a director of product? On the right hand, that's me working behind the reception desk of a hotel in Eindhoven. Again, no clue what product management was, no experience, no technical background at all. And on the other side, that's me currently working as a director of product at Frontend, building a more sustainable way of shipping parcels. So how did I start my journey into product? I was lucky enough to join a startup, very small, 13 people, and at one point I was asked to join for a conference overseas. Sitting in the audience, I saw a female leader talking on stage about product, and I really thought, I want to be her. And I'm here today talking on stage about product, so I think I somewhat succeeded there. Flew back and talked to the CEO saying, I want to be in product. Looked very interested, looked cool. So he said, yeah, let's go for it. So I just started doing the basics. Doing your typical CSPO course, started implemented processes, working with Jira, for example. But I was also that 20-year-old just telling the CTO and the CTO, well, I liked your approach, but you're now going to listen to me. Fairly soon figured out that that's not really the way to work together. But luckily, I learned how to communicate later on. After working there for a couple of years, the startup got acquired, worked at a more corporate environment, but then figured it was time to move on again. And then I joined a scale-up in Eindhoven called SendCloud. Worked there as a product manager when the company was still with around 20 engineers. And I left as a product lead, leading 3 product managers. Again, very fun. I'll share some experiences from that time. And now I'm leading a product team of 4 product managers, building software that is used in the sorting centers and by delivery drivers. So still very active in the logistics space. What I learned, firstly, in all of those years. You need to speak the language of those you work with. And I don't mean learning Italian or Spanish or German. I mean learning languages like engineering, finance, sales, logistics, whatever is working in your company. How I did this, an example from my time at SendCloud. Again, I had 0 technical background. I didn't know what coding meant. So I just figured when we were working on a plan of integrating different systems to ours, I thought, let's just dive in and start reading API documentation. And I soon figured out that that was quite fun, so I really loved reading those API documentations, usually in my evening hours. Then we had refinement a couple of weeks later, and I could really speak with the developers and saying, I understand what this system can do and that system cannot do. That endpoint works in this way, and the other endpoint works in another way. And I could really tell that the atmosphere during those refinements really changed. I could tell that people, that the engineers particularly were thinking, she's not just siding with the business, which is, I think, something that sometimes product managers struggle with, but that I was really investing my time to understand the challenges that they were facing. Now, I can imagine that some people wanting to start their career in product think, I don't want to read API documentation during my weekends. There are also some more fun ways of doing this. So for example, at Vinted, we have our operations in France, so I often take the train to Paris and just drive along with a delivery driver. So just visiting lockers, picking up parcels, seeing what they're doing. So I'm really trying to then learn the language of the user. So you could really apply this to different ways in your organization, trying to speak the language of engineering, of finance, of CS, but really invest this time to understand the entire business around you. Secondly, I truly believe that success lies in knowing when to dig deep. As a product manager, it's very important you understand the details and you understand to a deep level of detail what you're talking about. Again, an example from my time at SendCloud. We were working on more customs-related shipping. So instead of shipping just domestically, we wanted to expand our view and, for example, have give customers the option to ship to the UK. Well, post-Brexit, that means that you have to go through customs. Again, I'm not sure if I recommend this, but I spent, again, a lot of evenings and weekends reading customs laws. So really understanding like what's happening at a customs office when they're working with your packages. How does the law look like? And at one point in time, people within the company were saying that I became the expert. They also started saying that I was a little bit crazy, I think, but you can't have it all. What really happened there is I could, since I invested so much time in understanding those details, I could also translate that to what was needed in the product. And that really helped. So again, there are different ways of doing this, but really try to always dive into those details, really go into these rabbit holes every now and then to really understand like what are the challenges and how can I use these challenges to build a better product. And then came a step in my career when I went from doing product management to managing product managers. And then I also kind of fell into an identity crisis, because I really saw my strengths as the one that could dive into those details, really understand what was needed. But I also faced the challenge that with a team of product managers around me, you cannot be the one that always dives into these details yourself. You cannot be the one that always comes up with the solutions. You have to give this room to your team to come up with these solutions themselves. So this was kind of a struggle, and I still sometimes struggle with this. But there are a couple of things I'm doing to overcome this challenge. First of all, I still believe that these details are important, but on a different level. So instead of looking into one specific problem, dive into the OKRs that your company is setting. Dive into the financial model. Really understand that inside and out. And really, then you should be able to voice that vision and to voice that understanding to your team, which will then in turn help your team to thrive in their roles. And secondly, maybe even more importantly, just ask. Just ask your team, what do you need? What is it you're facing? How do you need my help? And sometimes I still can dive into these really complex problems just because the PMs then voice to me that that's something they're struggling with. Something that I also believe in, but that can be a little bit controversial maybe. This equation that you see on the screen right now, data plus experience is the best decision. So as a product manager, we all know data is important. You look at data day in, day out, understanding what the user is doing, understanding feature adoption, etc. I believe that data is worth a lot, but I also believe that in some cases, you shouldn't wait for data to answer all of your questions. You should also at one point in time rely on your own experience, rely on your own knowledge, and make fast decisions. So really try and avoid analysis paralysis here. Again, some examples. So for example, at that small startup, we only had 25 customers. 5 of them were the major accounts. Then you have a really small, select subset of data. So we talked a lot with these customers. We gathered a lot of input. We looked at the data through standard systems like Mixpanel, for example. But still, sometimes you just have to go with your gut. Fail fast, learn from that. That's also a way of gathering data. And then I believe you really are making the best decisions in product. Another learning point, simplify complex ideas. The more you grow in your role, and mainly also when you grow into larger organizations, people will not see your work day to day. They'll only get to experience working with you very rarely. So if you're then working on something super complex, it's important that you're able to take these ideas and really explain to them in the simplest way possible. Again, an example, currently at Vinted, we have monthly performance reviews. I'm usually presenting during those, and I roughly get 3 to 4 minutes to present what 4 teams did the entire month. They are working quite hard, they're releasing quite a lot, so trying to jam that into 4 minutes is quite hard. I try to do that at first. I try to explain everything that the team was doing. So every release, I was trying to cram into those 4 minutes. But then I figured that's not working, nobody was paying attention. I could definitely tell nobody even understood what I was talking about. So instead, now I'm just trying to pinpoint 1, maybe 2 releases and really try to understand who is my audience. So am I presenting to group leadership? Then they are probably more interested in the results. What efficiency did it bring? What money savings did it bring? Or am I presenting to maybe the product managers, who will require a more detailed level of information? Or am I presenting to the finance team, who is probably more interested in the numbers? So really, both try to focus on, think about who is your audience, who am I talking to, and then try to simplify your idea or your project or whatever you're working on in the simplest way possible. Then something very more personal, the power of mentorship. At SendCloud, I was lucky enough to work with a mentor. She and I had a very strong connection from the beginning. At first, I have to say I was quite skeptical. I thought that I was already doing pretty good and I didn't need a mentor and she's just going to tell me how I should work. When she started asking me questions like what are my own challenges, I uncovered one particular that started being like the opening of something much bigger. So I told her I sometimes tend to be a little defensive when people challenge my decisions or challenge what I'm doing, because obviously I'm always right. So she and I, we really worked on that, and we really went into this more personal journey of understanding your inner judge, which is that voice that everybody has that is telling you, like, I'm not good enough, or why are these people so dumb, or life is always against me. And that was really personal. And we also talked a lot about saboteurs. So, for example, a people pleaser or being more of a vigilante. That really helped me to understand myself, understand what was driving me, and also understand my own communication weaknesses and strengths. apart from this personal journey we went on, we also did a lot of role-playing in the form of practicing difficult conversations, but also kind of when a difficult conversation happened and it didn't quite go the way you wanted it to be, like you're in the shower or you're laying in bed and you think about all the things you could have said during an argument, we just redid those conversations, and I learned a lot from that as well. And it even went to a situation where I was almost looking forward to speaking with these difficult people sometimes, or going into these challenging conversations, because it was always a new learning opportunity for me to learn something new or to discuss this the next week with my mentor. So I would really encourage all of you, if you have the possibility to find somebody, and it could be through like a platform, but it could also be somebody who's potentially in the room here, find somebody in your network on LinkedIn, for example, to really find a coach, because it's really helpful. And then something else that I really learned along the way is be kind to yourself. When I was growing and climbing that career ladder, especially now at Vinted, I'm working with a lot of talented and very smart people. And imposter syndrome kicked in quite badly. So I remember the first time when I flew to Lithuania, where the headquarters is based off Vinted. I was sitting in the plane and I really thought, these people made a mistake. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why they hired me. They should have hired somebody else who is actually competent, who knows what she's doing. So I kind of like spiral down sometimes. It still sometimes happens, to be honest. I'm working remotely, and sometimes these thoughts take over. But then you have to remember, like, you are hired for a reason. You are doing your work for a reason, and you're probably doing it pretty well. And just telling yourself might not always work. So it's also important, I think, to voice this. So when I started speaking more openly about this, I noticed that quite a lot of people are feeling this way. Even those smart, talented people that work at Vinted that I saw that were like some kind of a semi-god, that had these doubts about themselves, that they were also not really sure what they were doing, or really sure like if they were going into the right direction. I'm also lucky enough that I can discuss this with my manager. She's really understanding about this. So again, would encourage you, if you feel this way, talk about it with your manager. If you're feeling not comfortable talking about this with your manager, find somebody else. There's probably people that have these same doubts in their minds. Talk to your friends, and you'll see that this really helps. So wrapping it up, some main key takeaways. First of all, speak multiple languages. So as I explained at the beginning, you can invest time in learning engineering, learn the language of marketing, of sales, of logistics. Really think about what are the departments and what are the roles that I talk to mostly, and deep dive yourself in these languages. Invest time, invest energy. Go on the internet, talk to your peers or your colleagues about it, and you will see that this will really bring you further. Secondly, know your communication style. So learn about your strengths, learn about your weaknesses, and really understand what is driving you. So I personally did this using a mentor to understand this, but this is also something you can also do on your own already. So be honest to yourself, know why, in what situations you're sometimes reacting in a way that you really feel a little uncomfortable with, and try and understand how you can change these weaknesses into strengths for yourself. And then lastly, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel insecure. It's okay to sometimes feel that you have no idea what you're doing. I really believe that pushing yourself is what brings you further. If you're just sitting very comfortably and you have no doubts at all, then I believe that you kind of stopped learning. If you feel uncomfortable every now and then, I think that that's the moment when you're really learning something new, when you're pushing yourself, and that's how you bring yourself to that next step in your career. this was it. Thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something. I hope you can go away with some advice. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or I'll be walking around if you want to have a chat. Thank you.